All right, we're all set to begin. Mayor Grebian.
So this is Mayor Don Grebian. Thank you for joining us here for the City of Pawtucket Business Webinar, our second attempt at doing a virtual meeting, and it's so important to hear from our community and to talk with you, the business owners, as we reopen our city and our state. The purpose of this meeting is really to inform you, the businesses that are the backbone of our community, to share the resources and the availability to make sure that we're giving you the information and as many tools as we can to help you through the reopening. I want to thank all the panelists. If I start naming them, I'll name a couple, I'll get in trouble with Kara, Stephanie, Jessica, Jan, Jeannie, and I'm going to forget somebody. Anthony, I got to give you a shout out for the great job you're doing on Zoom, but thank you to all the small businesses. And for those that I missed, I apologize. That's why a politician never recognizes anybody's name, so that we don't forget. But again, for the purpose of this meeting, before I shift it over to Jeannie, I want to thank you. Know that we're here, we're available. These are different times for all of us, and we're learning them together. So please, all questions, comments, concerns, we're open to those. I may have to apologize. I might have to sneak out a little sooner, and even though I was supposed to do the closing, but I forgot to mention that, Anthony. So without that, I'll turn it over to Jeannie, who will open it up. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Grebian. And thank you all for joining us on our second business webinar. And thank you to all of our panelists and the members of the small business community who are going to be joining us on a business roundtable. We've all been trying to figure out how to make our way through this pandemic. It certainly has affected the small businesses in Pawtucket particularly severely. We've tried to work with the state and with the small businesses to try to come up with ways to really make our way through this crisis that we've all encountered. One of the most effective tools that we've been able to propose on the local level is the small business program. Anthony, if we could do the next slide. We have the Pawtucket Loan Program. This is being administered through our Pawtucket Business Development Corporation. We rolled this out in early March, I think really at the height of the pandemic, and we've been able to offer loans of up to $10,000 to the businesses that are really being hit the hardest. You know, these are the businesses in the retail, commercial, and entertainment sectors in particular. We've given out 23 loans so far. And the terms of the loan, we're offering loans of 24 month terms at 2% interest. And for the first 12 months, there are no payments required whatsoever. The source of the funds is through the federal government, the Community Development Block Grant Program. And we actually went through the funding that we had in place very quickly. We've been able to replenish that. There's an additional $300,000 in funding available for small businesses. And there obviously are some requirements since we are using federal funds, CDBG requirements. You need to be able to create low and moderate income jobs. And the businesses do need to be able to demonstrate that the losses have been incurred as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. But we do think it's been a very effective way. The uses of the funds, they can be used for expenses such as paying payroll, paying rent, and working capital. It can't be used to pay off some other loans that businesses might have obtained, such as PPP loans. But we've tried to be as flexible and to try to make this as easy a program as possible. We were actually able to close on, I think it was 15 loans within the first 2 weeks of the program. So we go out of our way to try to work with the businesses and to try to make this a very painless process. You'll be able to get a copy of the application. We've got the contact information on this slide. Herb Weiss, our Economic and Cultural Affairs Officer, will be available to walk you through the process and to answer any questions that you have. In addition to the loan program, which I think really has been the most effective way that we've been able to help folks out locally, we've also created a comprehensive list of all of the programs that are available. So we do have on the city's webpage a list of what's available both through the state, through the federal government, and also through the nonprofits. And we're continually updating that so that we can have those resources available to our local businesses. Just try to see how we can help you as much as possible. So at this point, though, I think I'd like to turn it over to Kara Kuntz, who's the policy advisor for Commerce RI. She's going to really have, I think, the information that most people are really interested in finding out about is the new phase 3 reopening guidance. So Kara, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you to the mayor and the Pawtucket team for putting this together. I think one of the most valuable things we can do is talk about the changes to the guidance and how we're working our way through the different phases towards reopening safely here in Rhode Island. So if you've seen any of our previous commerce PowerPoints or visited reopeningri.com, this first slide will look very familiar. But we do like to point out where we are. We are in phase 3, which is picking up speed. And we are really pleased that we're able to be here. With each phase, we monitor the data, the cases, hospitalizations, we watch what's happening. And as we've navigated our ways from phase 1 to 2 to 3, we're really pleased that most businesses in Rhode Island are able to open in some way. Anthony, could you go to the next slide? So let's talk about requirements that are brought across most businesses. Number 1 is social and physical distancing. The capacity limits may vary by setting, but one of the most important things that we ask businesses and really everybody to keep in mind is that it's really important to the best extent possible to maintain social and physical distancing. So whether you're a restaurant or a movie theater, we're asking all businesses to help keep customers and patrons and employees 6 feet apart. The next one is masks and face coverings. The masks and face covering requirements remain in place in phase 3. And you know, this is important not just for our business settings. We know that face masks and face coverings do an incredible job of mitigating transmission risks everywhere. So keep your masks on, employees, visitors, when you're going out, when you're walking your dog in a downtown Pawtucket setting and you're going to run into people and be within 6 feet, wearing your mask and keeping them on is incredibly important. All businesses, and this rolled out with phase 1, are expected to continue doing health screening and contact tracing. So health screening can be done in a variety of ways, from a sign posted on the door where you ask customers to conduct a self-assessment and think to themselves, well, I felt sick today, maybe I don't need to go into this store today, to one-on-one questionnaires that you can ask when you're taking reservations at your restaurant. And then with contact tracing, we really ask that the rule of thumb be, if somebody is going to be on site and interacting with your employees, so, you know, not a trip to the grocery store, but if you're sitting down for a meal at a restaurant, or if you're sitting down to have a haircut or color, that you leave your name and phone number along with the date and time you're there with the business. And the businesses should be asking for this, and patrons should hopefully be able to give their name and phone number. And this is in the off chance and the unfortunate event that there is somebody who is ill. having a list of who's been in a place and who was perhaps in close contact with others in a place of business, that we can reach out and we can connect and let that customer know. Ventilation. So we know that when there is fresh air, that can help mitigate the risk of transmission. So we're continuing to ask all businesses, when possible, open your windows and doors and circulate fresh air. Use of fans, these are all great things. And then for sanitization, very similar to our phase 1 and phase 2 guidance, we're really asking that things like hand sanitizer be available to your customers, that you're wiping down your high-touch surfaces. So if you have a door that's pushed or pulled open or closed as opposed to an automatic door, you know, wipe those door handles down, wipe down the register where people might be placing their things. We really ask that you keep up with the really good work that's been done on sanitization and the hygiene. It really, between that and the masks, are the best things that we can do to help mitigate transmission here in Rhode Island. And then signage in your COVID-19 control plan. So for businesses that have been open, you've probably heard us say a lot about the COVID-19 control plan. We're really asking that businesses have a plan and know what it is that how they're operating with these COVID-19 setting guidelines. We ask that in this plan that they have an idea of what they'll do in the event that a customer or employee turns out to have been impacted, and that they have an idea of what they'll do next. So we do have templates for signage and for the control plan online. You don't have to use our templates, but we do recommend them only because we've designed them in a way that's hopefully easy to fill out. So these are the things that high level required across the board for every side of the business in Rhode Island. Anthony, could you go to the next slide? Great. So offices and other business types. The chief thing that has changed between phase 2 and phase 3, and this is across the board for all settings, is that the capacity, the number of folks that we allow into any one setting and that we feel can be done safely, has been increased. And we think that this is a good thing. So this first bullet talks about offices may allow up to 66% of workforce to return to work. And you'll probably hear me say this at the beginning of each of the other slides I'm going to run through fairly quickly. So this is upping your capacity to about 2/3 of where you were pre-COVID. So with offices and other businesses that have perhaps been open since phase 1 or are just starting to repopulate here in phase 3, you can operate at up to 2/3 of your capacity. And most of these rules, the 2, 3, and 4 on your screens, have been in place from previous settings, from previous phases. So we ask that for shared spaces such as break rooms and cafeterias, lobbies and waiting rooms, that you minimize the gathering, that you minimize the number of people that are hanging out, sharing a space at any one point in time. You do have to have symptom screening and attendance tracking. I know I just talked about on the previous slide, so I won't say more. And then where possible, we ask that you continue to allow employees work from home. You may actually be able to tell I'm in a bedroom at my house and not at a government office, mostly because I am still primarily working from home. So when you can do that, we highly encourage it. Next slide. So gyms and fitness centers. The capacity for gyms is 1 person per 100 square feet, which is an uptick from phase 2. And we've also changed the way we talk about class capacity a little bit between the 2 phases. With class capacity, if you are able to do whatever the type of fitness activity is with a mask on, your capacity can be however many you can fit as long as you're able to maintain the physical distancing of 6 feet. If you're not able to wear masks, we're asking that you keep a 14-foot social distancing or physical distancing in your physical class space. We've updated the rules around pools and whirlpools, saunas, and steam rooms. And we know that there's a number of saunas and spas in addition to gyms and fitness centers that are impacted by this. So if you have specific questions, I do recommend reaching out to either Commerce at 521-HELP or DBR at their helpline or online. But the big thing is here, capacity has been increased, your fitness class capacity is increased, and then you can reopen with your pools and saunas within certain restrictions. The other thing that I want to hit on, actually, if you could flip back one moment, is with close contact fitness activities. We get a lot of questions about dancing and dance studios. Dance studios and dancing fall under the gym and fitness centers category. The one thing that we ask is for things where you're going to be in close contacting, and dance is a great example, so is boxing, that it remain limited and that you use consistent pairs or groupings of people. So if you have a pair of dancers that dance together and one happens to be out that day, we ask that you not mix it up and like have different partners. We ask that you really cohort when you're going to have close contact fitness activities. Now, next slide. So for recreation and entertainment, there's a lot of different types of venues and settings that fall into this category. And I do want to touch on one of the most frequent questions we get asked, which is around what do larger events look like? When will they be allowed? So we do allow public events, and we did midway through phase 2 get some guidance online to allow public events. But we don't know yet what the next phase or the next stage of reopening in Rhode Island is going to look like. So when you start thinking about your longer term events, like what might happen in October or December, I mean, I want to be upfront and as honest as possible and say that we have to keep monitoring the data and we have to keep seeing what happens with this COVID-19 pandemic before we can figure out what exactly the next phase looks like here in Rhode Island. So for seated venues like your movie theaters in phase 3, you can operate similarly to offices at a 66% capacity as long as you can maintain your 6-foot physical separation. For your free-flowing venues, I personally am very happy Roger Williams Park Zoo is open again, but zoos, bowling alleys, that kind of thing. We ask that you operate at a 1 person per 100 square feet. And that number 3 here is important because no matter what, we ask that you limit your capacity to 125 if you're indoors and 250 if you're outdoors. So we know that there is a lot of math and figuring out here where if you're a movie theater, you both have to figure out what your 66% capacity is and make sure you're under the maximum and make sure your seating is arranged such that you can maintain 6-foot distancing. But hopefully this is something that you do once, and that if you need assistance with, you call either Commerce or DVR, and we're happy to help you figure out your space because we want everybody who is able to open to be able to open safely. But it's important to note that your maximum is tied to your 6-foot distancing. So whether you're seated or you're free flowing, keep it under the caps and then make sure you're able to keep a 6-foot distance between your patrons. Let's go ahead to the next one with restaurants and bars. Now, restaurants and bars are one of our most complicated settings, and we're monitoring this really closely. We've all seen the national news and the sort of unfortunate cases where other states have had to roll back and close venues or turn back away from indoor seating or decide not to move forward with indoor seating, as I believe the case was with New Jersey. We're really pleased in Rhode Island. We know that restaurant owners, and I know that there's a couple that will be participating in the business roundtable in a few minutes, are doing an incredible job and putting incredible efforts into organizing their spaces to follow the restaurant and bar requirements. So I'm gonna hit this at a high level, and then if there's specific Q&A, I want to make sure we have time for that so we can answer specific questions. So the capacity for restaurants and bars, like our other settings, has increased to 66% as long as the table spacing can be maintained. And just like with the 6-foot physical distancing, we're looking for a 6-foot physical distance between seated customers or 8 feet between tables. There's a lot of new information, especially for bars, when it comes to how seated customers can be passed their food and drink. There's actually 3 different options, one of which is if it's a working bar and there's no plexiglass or anything, that there can't be seated customers. That if it's a non-working bar, i.e. you don't have the bartender or anyone else back behind the bar working, that there can be seated customers. Or if you're able to install a non-porous barrier, aka plexiglass, and have spaces in between it that we have limited to 8 inches, that you can have the bartender working and customers sitting on the other side. And this is one where I'd want to emphasize going on to reopeningri.com and checking out the guidance as well as the diagrams, because we do have 3 diagrams that show these new options that I've just described at a very high level. And then we want to reiterate the no standing service. And the reason why I'm emphasizing no standing service over other components of the restaurant and bar guidelines, such as encouraging reservations and having single-use menus and not having shared condiments, is because we really want to make sure that in our restaurants and bars, we minimize congregating. And we know that going to a bar and congregating and standing and meeting people is part of the way that we function. We're social, we want to do that. But it's really important, especially as we continue through phase 3, and especially as we watch what happens in other states, that there's not standing service and that nobody is walking up to a bar or other setting and getting served in a way that they're gonna stand there and then drink their drink. So it's incredibly important that we make sure in all of our restaurants and bars that we figure out how to operate in a way that keeps folks seated. So the only time the mask is off is when they're seating, and that there isn't standing service happening. Again, there's a lot of information for restaurants and bars, but these are the 3 components I really wanted to make sure to hit on for this presentation. Can we do the next one? So personal services, there's only a couple of changes to the personal services guidance. The big one is the capacity. We ask that personal services, and this should actually say 1 customer per 100 square feet. So my apologies for for this slide not being super clear. It's not 1 person, it's 1 customer. And that's important because we're not including staff and employees in our capacity limits here. But personal services, the capacity for phase 3 is 1 customer per 100 square feet. And then I'm gonna skip down to number 3 and return up to number 2. So it's still recommended that blow drying services be limited. And we know that this is challenging. We have a set of recommendations of the guidelines on best practices, doing it in a separate space or having a barrier or opening a window. But we recognize how challenging implementing those might be depending upon your space. And we also recognize that blow drying is an integral part of many services, keratin treatments, coloring. So unlike other states, we've never banned blow drying, but we do still recommend against it or to limit it when possible. So let's talk about number 2, only because that is the chief change in personal services between phases 2 and 3. And this is that services that were limited in phase 2 because they would have involved the customer taking off their face mask are now allowed. So if you are engaged in facials or beard trimming or lip waxing, we now have a mechanism for our personal services professionals to offer those services. And it's mainly that we are requiring those professionals wear N95 or KN95 masks along with eye protection. There's also a list of locations on reopeningri.com where we're giving away KN95 masks and goggles to our personal services professionals. So we're really glad that we're able to have KN95 masks available. They're available on the market, but we also have the giveaway, and that we can help our personal services professionals get that gear so those services can be offered again. All right, let's hit the next slide, which I believe is my last one. Oh, that was my last slide. Let me turn it over now to Sarah Bratko of the Rhode Island Hospitality Association. Thanks so much, Anthony.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having us. And thank you again to Mayor Grebian and Anthony for putting this together. For those of you who don't know who the Hospitality Association is, we are the only restaurant and hotel trade association in the state of Rhode Island. We work all over the state with our member restaurants, hotels, tourism members, and what we call allied members, which are the different organizations that make up the industry. As COVID has kind of rampaged through the state, the hospitality industry has been uniquely impacted by it. And Rhode Island Hospitality has really been there every step of the way. We have multiple calls every day with Commerce RI and the governor's office, who have been great partners with us as we work on reopening the state. As we go into phase 3, the focus of our advocacy has shifted a little bit in that we need to make sure that the average consumer feels safe and that the average consumer knows what to expect when they go out to eat. It's different, right? I love going out to eat. Pre-COVID, I was out 5 or 6 times a week, which is the benefit of my job, but it's changed. And although how we offer hospitality has changed, the basic premise of what we offer hasn't, which is offering people a great experience when they're out. So in response to that, we are really focused on education in 2 different sides. One, we want to make sure that our industry knows exactly what they're supposed to do. As Kara was saying, these programs are new, these rules are new, they come out and we implement them, and there's a lot of questions, and it's a process. It's not as easy as kind of flipping on a switch. So we have put together on our website an entire platform, if you will, about COVID-19 and everything that the industry needs to know about reopening. We're in the process of updating this. Sorry, my phone is ringing. We're updating this in the for phase 3 right now, but this is really the central place where our members and non-members can go to get the information that they need. And we don't just have the guidelines from the state, we also have best practices from our national organizations, the National Restaurant Association and the American Hotel and Lodging Association. So it's really a clearinghouse for information. So it's at rihospitality.org, and a pop-up will come up about COVID. We also are really focused on educating the consumer. This past week, we launched what we call our consumer confidence cards, which is focused on telling consumers what they need to do for them to go out. It's a partnership. Our reopening only works if restaurants follow the rules and the consumers follow the rules. So our consumer confidence card tells people, look, don't come in if you're sick. If you have a cough, if you have a fever, if you have a sore throat, order takeout, order delivery. We'll still get you your food, but get it in a slightly different way. But it also talks about wearing a mask. That's a huge part of enabling us to open. It talks about contact tracing, which is one of the reasons why Rhode Island was able to reopen faster than any other state in New England. But it also focuses on being nice. We are hearing, unfortunately, one of the largest challenges facing our restaurants as they reopen is that consumers are not always the nicest. So this is a challenging time. Restaurants weren't designed to operate under these rules and restrictions, so they're adapting, and there's a little bit of a learning curve. So give everybody a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, and we're figuring it out as we go. So we're really focused on that. We have a team of 7 people here. I am an attorney. I offer a lot of legal technical advice to our members. We also have an entire education foundation that is focused on education and training, whether it be food safety, alcohol safety, customer service. We have a team of experts here that are able to help the industry as they navigate this challenging, different time. And as we see what is going on around the rest of the country, it's showing that Rhode Island's method of slowly reopening seems to be the right way. It's been frustrating. I will be honest about that. We all wish that it could go faster, but it has been our perspective at the hospitality associations, and not to speak for the governor's office, but through what she's been saying, that moving slowly but always moving forward is the better way of opening, rather than moving fast and having to shut down. When we talk to our members, when we talk to people around the state, their biggest fear is getting shut down again. So we're doing everything in our power to make sure that that doesn't happen. So with that, I will hand it back over, and thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm Jan Brody. I'm the Executive Director of the Pawtucket Foundation, and we have worked for the past 20 years or so, hand in hand with the city, on revitalization and economic development for the city of Pawtucket. And today I am moderating a terrific panel of 5 small businesses in and around Pawtucket. And I have worked with Jessica Vega from Social Enterprise Greenhouse, who are now positioned to do a lot of great work in Central Falls and Pawtucket. to gather these great people and to get them willing to share their experiences, and also giving them a chance to show off who they are and what their next phase in phase 3 is going to look like. So I am going to, and Jessica will be on the call till the end so that she'll be around to answer questions. I'm starting with Tiffany, who is the owner of Rhody Hen Cafe, and we're all very excited because Rhody Hen is opening it up again soon. And for any of you who don't know, it's at 350 Prospect Street in Pawtucket. And I will let Tiffany describe her business, what's happening soon, and what she's able to offer.
Hi everyone, and thanks for joining. So my little restaurant is a breakfast and lunch little cafe on 350 Prospect Street in Pawtucket. We've been closed since March 28th, and we are still closed. We are in the middle of revamping and planning on opening August 1st. So just a few more weeks. Sorry for everyone who has to wait for the steak tips, but they're coming soon. The way that we're trying to reopen, with the capacity and the amount of footage that we have in our small little diner, it's really hard for us to get tables inside. So we're trying to implement more tables outside. And with New England weather, it was kind of hard for us to figure out how we're going to do our patio outside because every day is a different type of weather situation. So we're waiting for August to happen, and we're going to have about 7 tables outside. We're going to try to do 3 tables if possible inside to the restaurant, of course, going with the guidelines that we have listed. You know, we are going to do very limited for the menu. I have a digital menu available for anyone who wants to look at that instead of touching menus. I do offer regular menus that we sanitize after every use. There will be no more presets on the table. There will be individual packets of utensils and salt and pepper for the table itself. But we're going to try to make it as how it used to be, as much as possible without interfering with the experience of dining out, because that's the whole point of going out to eat, is enjoying yourself and not being worried about the person next to you or if you're going to get sick. So we're taking our time, trying to reopen, making sure everything is perfect, and making sure that our staff and our guests that come in feel comfortable, feel safe, and are still really having a good dining experience with us.
So Tiffany, have you picked up on feedback from your own staff, yourself, family members, whoever is working there,
Actually,
well
I
as
have
customers?
my
How-
main
how
girl next to
healthy?
me, Cindy, and we've
Hello.
been talking so much about this because it's hard being a server, it's hard being a cook, you know, in a restaurant that has AC during the summertime, but now wearing a mask on our face and, you know, making sure that people can understand us when we're talking with the mask on, making sure that, you know, our staff are doing okay. You know, we are temping them. We're making sure that everything is going great on that part and, you know, keeping the contact tracing on that level. But we got to make sure that everyone is just comfortable when they're working too. You know, it is going to be a change for everybody. I know a lot of my restaurant friends out there, you know, it is difficult for them, you know, because that's the way of talking with the mask on. I know people are using gloves to deliver food. So it's a whole new different atmosphere for us that we have to, you know, get to the new normal again. So we got to figure this out, but we're going to have fun doing it. That's why we're taking our time getting into this for our reopening day.
So I love your optimism. That's excellent, which leads me to my question that, of course, you're going to answer in a positive way because that's just who you are. We heard from Kara that it's really hard to forecast the fall, and everybody, they're data-driven. Do you have thoughts in place on both currently being able to operate at 66% capacity, not 100? And I'm sure it was not overflowing with joy even at 100 in a new location, 66% capacity and still able to rebound if things shift a little in the fall?
So with 66 capacity right now, it would give us about 3 tables in our dining room. I do have a counter, which I won't be able to use if I do have the 3 tables in the dining room. And then with the walkway to our restroom, I won't be able to put any tables against the wall. If any of you have been to our restaurant, you know how the inside looks. My husband and I are trying to figure out maybe getting some heaters for outside to keep our patio up and running until, the very last minute in the fall before the snow starts falling down. But, we are trying to look to, in ways, reinvent ourselves. We're looking into the food truck. We're looking into maybe doing some smoking catering business. We're trying to find different ways that we can still promote our food, get our food out there to our, local community. It's hard, it's a challenge, but who doesn't like a challenge? And I think the best thing for us is that we have to keep going with this. We can't stop. If you throw something in front of us, we will figure out a solution to make it work.
Excellent. Thank you, Tiffany. As I said, I love the optimism. So I'm going to shift over to Sandy. Sandy Casey runs Cosmetology 101, located at 50 Anne Marie. What we tried to do with our selection of our 5 panelists was to get a variety of the services and the ones most impacted by phase 3, and also a little bit of geographic diversity around the city. So Sandy, she is one of those that now has to invest or hopefully get free from commerce these KN95 masks because she runs a beauty business. And Sandy, I'd love for you to share what it's like, what it has been like, how long have you been open, and how you doing?
So I feel very fortunate that I did even get to reopen. Luckily for me, my leasing company is working. They're very understanding. It's job lot, and they're great landlords to have. So if it wasn't for them, I would have probably thrown in the towel. But they are working with everybody in the whole plaza. So that was one great thing. I've been here for 9 years. So this August 1st will be my 9th year here. And I reopened, I closed March 16th and I reopened June 1st. So that was a big chunk of business, but I know it was the best thing for everyone to be safe. I have a very large clientele of elderly people, and I would hate to put them at risk at all. Because in the beginning, we didn't even know what to do. The protocol, the mask, the shield. I wear an N95 mask. I wear goggles. I wear shields. I ordered a lot of PPE from the beginning that it has not arrived. I've asked, and I feel because hairstylists or salons are not a priority, like a hospital or CNA, when we really touch a lot of people throughout the day. So I feel that we should have access to PPE, just like a dentist or a CNA or, a nursing home, because I get a lot of people from the nursing home. So I want to make sure that they are also protected when they come. Luckily for me, my salon is big enough that I can social distance without a problem. So that wasn't a challenge. And most of my clients before COVID made appointments. However, walk-ins, I can't take walk-ins like I used to. And that leaves them, feeling like, wow, I can't get a haircut. And it makes me feel vulnerable as well. But I'm trying to go slow and put cleaning first before money. It's more important to make sure everyone's safe at this point. So it's really cut the capacity. And even, phase 3 is, for me, it's going to pretty much look like phase 2, because you still need to do all the cleaning in between. And a major thing is gloves. Gloves are in high demand, and they've tripled in price. So that puts me, I have to glove myself. I have to glove my employees. So it makes me a little bit reluctant to hire anyone back, because now it's a whole nother expense, each person you bring back. But luckily for me, most clients are very understanding. I take temperatures, I take name and address, I take the COVID checklist with every client, and I ask them to shampoo before they come in, even if it's just for a haircut. But life goes on during COVID, so we just have to adjust and keep it moving and make the proper changes where we need to. But I do wish that we could get more PPE to keep us safe from now till whenever, because, you know, for us, I'm in that 6 feet circle bubble. So most of the stuff doesn't apply. So we're still at risk after every customer if we don't have the proper PPE. And again, I'm also lucky that I do have the a washer and dryer, because it's a lot of laundry, every single cape, everything. So that's a big expense.
It sounds like you are managing, but working extra hard and putting in the extra effort to comply with all the rules and regs. I know that anybody I know wants desperately to get their hair done, to get that hair cut that has not been cut for months and months. And so what I'd love to hear, just very quickly, if you could say, are your customers feeling comfortable? Are they feeling safe?
Oh yeah, they say, oh wow, you're doing a good job. I'm gonna tell so-and-so to come because she's very nervous, but I'm gonna let her know that she has nothing to worry about. I personally clean after every customer, not at the end of the day, because I notice a lot of times they say, oh, I'm cleaning at the end of the day, a thorough cleaning, but by then you could have had, you know, 50 seniors walk in and out, who knows what. So
it also sounds like you're set up for the fall. So if things shift a little, you've gone over the top on all your protocols. So thank you, Sandy, for sharing that. And we'll do what we can to send more business your way, partly by roundtables like this. So now I'm going to shift over to Stephanie. Stephanie Barboza is located right in the middle of downtown still on Main. And she runs a boutique fitness salon called Club Bless. And Stephanie, why don't you tell us a little about what you're doing?
Yes, so again, thank you for having me on board on this call. I find that it's very educational, not just for me, but for all of you as well, to know exactly what I am offering. Because first, let me say I am a small boutique, but we are leading the way promoting fitness and weight management as a lifestyle. So I'm promoting the 80 over the 20, where I'm taking you back to your lunch box. So we do the nutrition and the fitness at the same time, so that you can reach your optimal results. I am new here in Pawtucket. I came in November and never knew anything about it other than Sonia Barboza, who was also on this call with me. We're basically kin. And I have a grandson here. So you all are basically not only business network and partnership with me, but I'm calling you my friend. Thanks to Jessica Vegas over here has made it very easy for me to implement my dreams and desire as a business entrepreneur here. This is not my first rodeo. I came to Pawtucket and I came sole proprietor, and when COVID hit, I had to jump right into the big dream and go incorporate so I can focus more on the educational piece. So right now, as far as training, we don't do any inside. I do have the space to do it. I have the capacity. I have what's required. I have all the needs that I have, but clients do not want to come inside. It could also be because it's beautiful outside, but they don't want to come inside. So I am doing some things outside. With COVID-19, I was forced, even though I have an income, but I had to jump up and get that high state liability, because now I got to take my clients outside. Now I have to go to their houses. And as the Sandy stated, we have more things that we need to buy. And this is my only income. So we're not inside. I do go outside. I do go to people's homes. I am focused on online virtual training, but let me tell you, that's a whole other life right there. Being in front of the camera, finding time to sit down, and you got to map hours, days just to do videos and all that. That's a whole other aspect, but I'm making it do. It's been the primary focus alongside of education. So now I'm training trainers to become trainers, built a mentor program, joined in with NASM and became a partner in a facility that's preferred through them. So now I'm a master trainer. So I'm training trainers and sending them out as well. so then we can help meet the needs to help families and corporate wellness, just everybody get healthy, while now we have to transition to staying in. And as you know, and I'm sure a lot of us on this line, when we're inside and we don't have it in the house, you know, we're way off, we're eating just crazy and not getting the proper nutrition. So that's my focus now, educating people, raising up trainers, and sending people out, building people, resources, and community.
So Stephanie, it sounds like you've shifted your model. How much of that will stay as a permanent shift?
That is
Definitely
permanent shift.
diversifying your income by doing the education piece.
That is the permanent shift. And the fact also I opened up underneath the same umbrella of Club Blessed Weight Management, we have Stephanie's Macro Kitchen. So I'm doing meal planning, prepared meals. So you can literally come here and pick up your food for the day, pick up your food for the week, whatever it is. I'm doing smoothies, all natural smoothies with protein powder, joint repairs, as I meet and consult people. So I'm taking consultations one at a time and listening and actually helping them to adapt and adopt the lifestyle according to them, because there's no one size that fits all.
Fantastic. So to the world that's listening, and I'm sure it's many, many people, go to Stephanie to get rid of all those COVID March through June pounds that we all sat around much too much. It sounds like your shift in model is really a very sustainable one and will withstand any further shifts that may come in the fall and winter. So thanks, Stephanie, for sharing. And again, that's Club Blessed, still on Main, and all of the contacts for our 5 panelists will be shown at the end. So now we're going to another restaurant. Mike Arena runs Miss Lorraine's Diner over at 560 Mineral Springs. And we have long been waiting for this diner to open. And timing, Mike, tell us about what you've done. What are you open? What's your capacity? What's your business model looking like these days?
Well, first of all, hi, Jan, and thank you for contacting me to get involved with this. And thanks for the city of Pawtucket and Herb Weiss. He's been great for all this also. Pre-COVID, we opened up January 26th, and we were hitting it out of the ballpark. We were doing great. We were open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Once COVID came around, of course, we closed down in March 16th. And I made a decision that when we did reopen, not to do dinner yet. It's still up in the air whether I'll go back to dinner. But for right now, I found that staying open for breakfast and lunch is something that I'm comfortable doing, especially with employees. A lot of my employees, don't want to come back to work just yet, and for their safety reasons. But we're open now, and we're with the guidelines, we're doing okay. We're not anything like what we were. The diner itself is very small, but we do have a back dining room that we can fit some people in. So, with being open and having 66% of our capacity, we could still fit people inside. And that's the thing people don't know that about this back dining room that we have, that they are able to come inside. They are able to stay a safe distance from other people, and stay safe. We're not doing outdoor dining. We were thinking about it at first. However, I'm just, sticking my feet in the water and seeing what happens. Not rushing into anything yet.
So how are you finding, say it's a cloudy, rainy day, are people coming in? Are they willing to come inside? 66% capacity is what's allowed. How about what people are feeling comfortable with? And yourself as well. Are you feeling safe?
So Yeah, as far as myself, I feel safe. I don't think the general public do. I don't think that they actually feel safe yet. You know, we opened in January. We're not established. We don't have that clientele that says, "Hey, let's go to Miss Lorraine every day." I have other restaurants where I have that clientele, and they couldn't wait to get back. But opening a month and a half before COVID, we still didn't have that base. So it's a tough, it's very tough trying to get you call them your customers. It's tough to get your customers back when you really didn't even have your customers yet. So I don't see a lot, like we're open, but I mean, I'm kind of hanging on. There's no big rushes. There's no Saturday and Sunday busy days anymore. Um, so I think we just need to wait it out, and hopefully, this COVID goes away and people decide to come back out again, because I'm finding in, I can't say that people don't want to come indoors. I have other restaurants, people do come indoors too, but it's just, I think it's just because I'm so new that people are still afraid to come in to a enclosed place, especially if they don't know I have another dining room besides the diner that's in front of them now.
Well, as you said, Mike, hang in there, because we all want your success and what you're offering. It's a gorgeous location and gorgeous diner. I love the whole concept. And as you're waiting it out, if you can identify resources or want more information about where resources can be found, reach out to the foundation, to the city, to Commerce. We're all here to make sure you succeed. So our fifth panelist is Sonia Barbosa, and she runs a professional cleaning service, largely in Pawtucket and Central Falls, and certainly a highly impacted industry. So I will ask Sonia to describe how she's handled both the close down and then now with reopening in phase 3.
Hi, so a little about me. My name is Sonia. I've run Mina's Cleaning Service. We service all of Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and we specialize in residential and commercial clients. And so how I've adapted with the closing and reopening, it was tough, obviously, to have to put a hold on all my clients, not only the houses, but also, some of my night accounts that I would go into. But what that gave me was time to, kind of like center all my business ideas that I had. We wasn't working much, but there were small houses that would still, want me to come in and clean for them. So while COVID was going on, I used the time to do a lot of research with the loans and the grant programs that were going around, because, this was a great time to get some working capital for a small business. And that was good. It gave me some time to virtually meet with some people to see in what direction that I want to bring the business, things like that. As far as reopening, I guess I never really closed, it just got slow for me. So when it came time to reopen and my accounts were setting back up, it was just a matter of changing the order and of how we did things. With a cleaning company, we're going to go in there and obviously clean the space. We're going to sanitize most of the spaces, but now it was the frequency of how we did things. So, making sure that areas that we don't normally look at, that we're remembering that area when we're going to sanitize that area. Keeping in mind that cleaning an area and sanitizing that area is different. So it would add a little bit more work onto the night, which is fine, because at the end of the day, you wouldn't want anybody to get sick on behalf of you, So that's really all it was. It was just adding a little bit more onto the workload. But really it just as far as like sanitizing, not really much as like scrubbing things down or anything like that.
So were you able to keep your existing book of clients? And with COVID and cleaning being such an important component of
Yeah.
safety,
Yeah.
by any chance, have you added more clients as a result?
So the good thing was I didn't lose, I lost a couple, you know, that still haven't invited folks back into their home for whatever reason. I didn't lose any major clients though. So that was the good thing. And what was good is that I had some of my residential clients, because it was already in the budget for the month, they were still able to help me, a small business owner, out during, you know, those couple of weeks that I wasn't going into the houses. And then as far as getting any new clientele, absolutely, you know, as unfortunate as it is, this is a great time for a cleaning company. I mean, you know, everybody wants their space clean, sanitized. They don't necessarily want to do it themselves. So it's nice to be able to call somebody in, you know? So I had a lot of, and there were some, commercial clients who were looking to maybe just change the cleaning company around. And this was the perfect time for me to go in and, like, you know, meet with them, do walkthroughs. Whether I got it or not, it's a great experience. So, yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. I know that, for example, people move and they go into a new place and landlords need that apartment cleaned and they want it professionally cleaned.
Yeah.
So it's your safety obviously is critical, and I
Yeah.
assume masks and all the protocols are just part of your new normal.
Yeah. Masks are definitely part of the new normal. Gloves, disinfectants, and the type of disinfectant also is part of the new normal. Because again, with the cleaning company, I mean, those have to already be the standard. You know, you're wearing your gloves, you're changing them off between rooms. It's very tedious, but now we just add a couple of different things, like you said, the masks, certain products, etc.
Excellent. Well, I see it's 4 o'clock or just after, and I want to first thank all 5 of you for taking the time, preparing. You've answered so many questions, and I hope that this gives a little bit of an opportunity to help celebrate our small businesses and get the word out that you're open for business, and to every one of you are optimistic and ready to work hard and make sure that the summer and fall and into the winter work well for yourselves. We want to help wherever we can. So now we go to some Q&A. I'm sure I've cut into the time by going a little over here. There was one question that, one was, how can we best promote what and where Pawtucket is open for business? One step are webinars like this. And I know that the mayor does his weekly. Jean, if you want to jump in and offer what the city can do, I'd love to hear that.
Well, one thing that we did, especially for the restaurants, is Anthony and Herb also worked with Will Arboleda, our city's communication director, and we put together a comprehensive list of all of the restaurants that initially were open for takeout. We've also tried to enlarge that and list all of the restaurants and bars as well that are open. So this is a process where we're trying to hear from the businesses themselves so that we can actually make sure that this is as up to date as possible. So that's something that we want to hear from the businesses too, so that we can put this on the city's webpage and also through our Facebook page. So that's something that we're also doing to try to promote our local businesses so that folks know that there's a lot of businesses that have found ways to stay open.
And I'd also add, I'm with Jessica Vega and SEG. We've tried to pull together some of the small businesses, kind of focusing on the downtown, but happy to make that a wider reach and to hear from people what they need and to make sure that we match up resources and we can add to that just the promotion part of it. The foundation is also working on doing active and attractive various programs and initiatives to get people out and walk in the streets so that they can see that some of these businesses are open and they are attractive and invitational. We'll continue to do that, and Commerce, I know, does a lot on the promotion side. If you've got ideas, by all means, send them in. We will promote wherever and however we can. Another question, and this is a good one.
Add one quick thing too, is that
Sure.
the loans that are available to businesses can also use the loan proceeds to add to their promotional efforts as well and marketing. So that's something that an individual business can also do to help them get those customers back into their doors.
And Jessica, how about what SEG can do on the promotional side?
We are definitely supporting small businesses. So if anyone wants to send us their information, we always share them on social media. We could retweet, reshare. So just let us know how we can best support you. So whether that's through promotion or through some resources that we offer for free, please let us know.
So here's a good question, because I think one of our panelists even mentioned it. I think it's directed to Kara at Commerce. Is there any support available for more online presence for small businesses?
So we have a couple of tools for businesses that are interested in offering more of their services or goods online. If you reach out to Commerce through the 521 helpline, we do still have the ability to set you up for a one-on-one with somebody from Venture Cafe to get some tech help to work on, maybe you need to update your website or upgrade your website so that you can have a shopping cart and do online checkouts, that kind of thing. And I assumed that's what this question was asking, but if I answered a different question than what they were asking, just let me know, Jan.
Okay, and one of our panelists mentioned the need for more PPE help, and that was one of the questions that got typed in ahead of time. Can you explain what Commerce is able to do on that?
Yes, so especially for our personal services professionals right now, we do have both the KN95 masks and the eye goggles, and we're distributing them similarly to how cleaning supplies were distributed back at the beginning of phase 2. So there is a list on our website of sites and contact information, and we ask that those professionals in need simply reach out and we'll connect them and make sure we can get them what we have.
So our first webinar, thank you, Kara. Our first webinar focused a little bit more on all the agencies and organizations and the various funding that was being made available. This one, we really wanted to hear from the small businesses. But now that PPP is kind of behind us, we don't know where it's going. We don't know where the unemployment extra is going. There are still obviously financial support needs. Kara, has Commerce heard anything more that might be coming? I know the state's not flush right now. Is there any intel on what might be coming on a more federal level?
So at the state level, we will be announcing a grant program for small businesses next week. This is in addition to some of the earlier programs we had with our Small Business Loan Fund, and we did do some CDBG grants with the non-entitlement communities. I would note that PPP applications did reopen through the SBA on July 6th. So earlier this week that was extended. And EIDL is accepting applications again. So there will be a state announcement next week, and then PPP and EIDL are both open again. But in terms of the next stimulus or what comes next with the federal government, unfortunately, I don't know more right now.
Right.
Jan, if I could also.
Yeah, Jane, can you add to that?
Yeah, in terms of knowing what's available, I can't really add to that, but I also just would like to mention that for the local businesses, that the city does have a relationship with the SBDC, and should those programs become available, we do offer free counseling to businesses that may need assistance in putting together those applications. And I presume that also SEG also provides some free counseling too, and should those programs become available. So don't get scared off by the complexity of some of these loan programs. There are resources available at no cost to the businesses.
Jessica, do you want to add what SEG?
Absolutely. So if you go to our SEG website, we have a list of all the resources that we have available. All our programs right now are pay what you can. And we mean that. So if you could only pay $20, that's what you can do. The whole idea is to remove the financial burden right now from our small businesses. We also have what we called office hours with 4 or 5 SEG staff, where you could just schedule the office hour online and meet with us, and we'll help you navigate through some of the loans and grants in the state of Rhode Island. And lastly, all our advising or counseling are free to entrepreneurs as well. We actually have a microsite that my colleague Stephanie built that has list of, let's say, a marketing expert who has 3 hours of block time for any entrepreneur who wants to come in and talk about marketing strategies. So these services are available to entrepreneurs. So if any of the entrepreneurs on this call is interested, please send me an email. I know I've been working with Stephanie, and I'm starting to work with Sonia now. So if you guys need help with any resources out in the community, please let me know.
Thanks, Jessica. So we're out of time, but I want to ask one question, probably Jean, you're the best one to answer. It's a question came in of the percent of companies that have returned to the city. Is there any, or to offices, whether it's, on the retail commercial side or on the business side? Any observations? Are we back in business 66%, 100%?
Well, I can't give you a percentage, Jan, but it does seem like the businesses are reopening. I also might want to refer to Michelle Hardy, who's our deputy city clerk. There's been a lot of businesses coming back and getting licenses, particularly for some of the outdoor openings. And we've also had a lot of activity in our building department. So it seems like that it's been very active, even though certainly there's been a significant, I guess, blow to our local economy as a result of COVID. We have seen a lot of business activity, not just from businesses returning, but also from new businesses starting up. I couldn't provide you with a percentage, but we've been actually very encouraged with the level of economic activity that has continued despite the hardships associated with COVID.
So yeah, it's not about percentages, it's the perception. And are people coming back? Are they venturing out? Are they starting to feel a little bit more confident? It sounds like a lot of positive moves are happening.
Yeah.
Michelle, did you want to add anything?
Yes, so a majority of our restaurants have taken advantage of the outdoor seating. I'm handling all the permits through the clerk's office, and with the support of the mayor and the council, we've tried to make this process as easy as possible. We're really just doing these permits so we can know who's doing outdoor seating, to keep track of those types of businesses. But it's seamless. You can get an outdoor permit within 15 minutes tops, We're really trying to push the businesses to do those outdoor seatings and making accommodations, and working with them on plans on how they can manage that in some of these smaller parking lots and smaller areas. So the city is really trying to promote that. We keep our list up to date so that the planning office can promote who's doing outdoor seating and who's not. So if there's anybody that needs, we've been blasting out emails regularly to our businesses with all the information from Commerce and Resource RI and the health department, to all of our restaurants. And so any of those restaurants that need outdoor seating, they can reach out to the clerk's office and we'll walk them through the process, but everybody's been emailed the applications or mailed the applications 2 or 3 times over at this point. But we're excited for them, for those that are participating and trying to work with them.
Thanks, Michelle. So I'll now turn it back to
Jan. I'm actually going to chime in for a minute. Someone has been very patient. They submitted the question about a half an hour ago on the wedding industry. And I'm going to direct this to Kara as our final question of the webinar. And the question is on wearing masks at private weddings, especially with weddings going forward in Rhode Island this August. And do the social distance rules that we've been describing, especially by Commerce, do they apply during these private wedding ceremonies that we're going to be seeing again in August, with everyone required to wear face masks and social distance? So Kara, if you can clarify the policy on weddings.
Yeah, so for weddings, we're directing folks to look to the restaurant guidance and follow those guidelines. So for masks, as an example, we ask the guests they should be wearing their masks except when they're sitting down to eat, just like at a restaurant. Social distancing should be done very similarly to how it is at restaurants. So yes, there are social distancing and mask guidelines for weddings, and we would direct you to the restaurant guidance. And if there's anything specific with this, I know that you said private gathering, please go ahead and reach out to 521-HELP or DVR's hotline, and we're always happy to talk about your specific event space.
Okay, thank you. Anthony, Jean, I assume that the mayor has bowed off, but you want to stand in for the mayor, Jean?
Yeah, I guess so. I'd just like to thank all of our panelists for your participation, especially our small businesses who took the time from running their businesses to participate on this, and also all of everyone who joined us on this webinar. I hope we were able to answer most of your questions. Certainly, we have reach out to us if any of your questions weren't answered. We do have the city's webpage listed, business assistance at pawtucketri.com. There's more specific assistance information listed on that webpage. You also heard from our panelists, from Kara, as well as Sarah. If there's they have great information on their particular web pages regarding this latest phase of the reopening. Please reach out to them, reach out to Jan, reach out to Jessica as well, and try to get more information as we move forward. We're going to be posting this presentation on the city's webpage as well. And we'd like to continue to hear from you. Even if you didn't post any questions during the Q&A now, certainly don't hesitate to send us some additional questions and we'll respond to you as quickly as possible. But thank you everyone for your participation. I think I also share the optimism that some of our panelists also expressed on in the webinar today. I think that we're in a very good place thanks to the leadership that we've gotten on the state level and also on the local level from Mayor Grebian. And I really do applaud the resilience of our local businesses and moving forward and adapting to these changing times. So thank you, everybody, and let's just keep moving forward. And
thank you.
See you later.
Thank you all.
Okay.